I remember watching the NBA Finals, and Kobe Bryant was playing the Celtics, or the Lakers were playing the Celtics, and Kobe Bryant was just exhausted. And he missed like 15 out of 16 shots in the second half.
Right.
So some of us, we focus way too much on how do I get more done, when really the question should be, how do I get myself in a peak energy state?
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of The Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I got an extra special treat for you joining me in the Hit Lab today. Folks, buckle up, strap in, because just introducing this cat, it's going to take a minute, right? So check it out. He has founded or partnered in over 20 ventures. His businesses have done over $300 million in sales, and that's an old number. It's probably grown a lot more since then. He's been featured in Fox, Forbes, Business Insider, Thrive Global, Huffington Post, MentorBox, among others. He's a mental health and psychedelic medicine advocate. He's a peak performance coach, and he's the author of Genius Within. Folks, my buddy, my pal, my dude, Mike Zeller. What's happening, Mike?
What's up, Nick? So excited to be here, man. And you know what? We got a lot to rock on today. I can't wait to dive in.
We do have a lot to rock on today. That's the first hit of the day right there, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Let's get some zingers today.
All right, man. So the leaders out there in 2024, we're going to get right into it. What, as far as peak performance goes, like what opportunities do you see happening this year, man?
Yeah, the number one thing that I see leaders strike out on is they don't realize the importance of flow state. And so when you're in flow state, you're 500% more productive. You actually release all 6 of those positive neurochemical cocktails: oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, neuroplasticity, and a few others. And what happens is when you're in that state, which you can reverse engineer your workflow, your life to be able to get there. But when you're in that state, it's when work becomes play and you're unconsciously tapped in. You know, from baseball, when you're in the zone, you can't strike out. The pitcher's in the zone, he's unhittable, right? Well, as let's call ourselves business athletes, if we can get ourselves in the zone and remove the blockers to get in the zone or in flow state, man, we can be unstoppable.
You know, it's crazy you said that, because as an athlete, you're exactly right. You know, when you are the hottest at the plate, when you can't, they can't get you out, when everything's going your way, it's not that necessarily your swing's any different. It's literally just a feeling that you have in the box and how comfortable you are.
Yeah. And you're tapped in. It's almost like, you know, Napoleon Hill wrote about it in like this mastermind concept, when you're almost in this mastermind of unconscious connection, or Carl Jung talked about the unconscious collective. Well, we can do that where you're in harmony. In Heart Math Institute also defines some of it as heart coherence. But on the flow research side, Stephen Kotler writes a lot about it, but it's basically, if you can reverse engineer this, your joy levels in your work, your joy levels in life, your life satisfaction. In fact, the people that have the highest levels of life satisfaction also have the highest amount of flow in their life. And then you look at people who are most productive, most effective, right? Like, and we can go back to, I remember watching the NBA Finals, and Kobe Bryant was playing the Celtics, or the Lakers were playing the Celtics, and Kobe Bryant was just exhausted. And he missed like 15 out of 16 shots in the second half.
Right.
So some of us, we focus way too much on how do I get more done, when really the question should be, how do I get myself in a peak energy state? Like if you go to a Tony Robbins event, he's all about peak energy. Tony's the master. Well, on a practical level, if we are leading an organization, or we're leading ourselves or leading our family, the difference between people at the highest levels of performance, an Elon Musk, a LeBron James, a Tom Brady, they know how to get in the zone. They know how to get in flow state.
That's right.
And they know how to get their team in the zone.
Yeah. So like, dude, you're all over this, what we talk about here a lot, especially these days. And I've said this multiple times. It's something that used to frustrate me with the church. Not the church, the capital C, but the little c, all the people in the church. And it was something that going to Trevecca Nazarene University, it's something that I struggle with as a young man. You know, a lot of people go to church, or many people go to church on Sundays because it's what they do on Sundays. But it's not the reason that anymore that they went the first time. They went the first time to be saved, you know, for help,
Yeah,
you know what I
they're
mean,
curious.
to grow.
Yeah.
And then it turns into just something you do on Sunday, and it's lost all its meaning if you don't, like, for me, it's like I empty the tank Monday through Saturday, and Sundays when I go back there to fill it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it has a purpose when you go. Dude, can you expand on more like that? This is like, you're all over. This is the difference between elite athletes, elite performers, and really everybody else. It's like Tim Corbin, when he was in here, I was like, dude, you're like the best guy ever, except I wouldn't want to see you on the other in the other dugout on the other side of the field, because like that, when that switch is on, it's and the rules of engagements are there, he's going to do everything that he can to beat you.
Yeah.
Even though he's one of the best guys on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, almost if you like think about how do I reverse engineer my life and myself for peak performance. One of the biggest little known facts about flow state and peak performance is to achieve flow state or my peak performance where I'm just locked in. I'm instead of bored, like when you're talking about that church example, hey, I'm bored, which means I'm disengaged. I can do it in my sleep.
But some people are doing it in their sleep.
Yeah, they are, right? Some people are doing their work in their sleep.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And so you got to have an appropriate level of challenge. So you have your comfort zone, right? And that's you look at the little circle, you're in the middle circle, comfort zone, you're a couch potato, basically. The next level out is your discomfort zone, and that's typically 10% beyond your comfort zone. So in business, you know, you've got your different entities as you keep them growing and keep stretching just 10% beyond your comfort zone. But if you go to 20% or more, you start entering the paralysis zone where you start melting down and you hit the overwhelm.
Yeah.
The goal is to be in that discomfort zone so you can keep stretching, and think of it like big wave surfers. Big wave surfer, if they haven't surfed a 20-foot wave, they're not going to jump on a 50-foot wave or a 100-foot wave. But if they've done the 50-foot wave, then they can do a 60-foot wave. Or if they've done a little heli skiing, they can do the next challenge in heli skiing.
Yeah, man.
So, and when you're in that in your business or in your relationship, why do a lot of marriages fail? They get bored.
They stop working on it.
Yeah, they quit stretching.
Yeah,
they
man.
quit evolving. They quit being curious. And
My wife and I
expanding.
talk about that a lot, and how like it's my duty to find ways to fall in love with her over and over and over
100%.
again, every year, multiple times a
Exactly.
year, and that keeps things awesome, is what it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It makes everybody happy, and you know, again, if you're not working on your relationship with your wife, you're working on something else.
Yeah, you're either progressing or slipping backwards.
There's so many ways to talk about what we're talking about here, but like, so I'm gonna. This may be off path. I don't think so, but like, you know, because mental health is something that's been, those words have been thrown around a ton over the last few years, and you know, but I think what like the news talks about and what most people talk about is not mental health. It's like mental disease. They're talking about the things that hurt them or make them worse and not better. And, you know, that we're always looking for medicinal ways to cure things and not always, you know, natural ways to cure things, whether it be through, I mean, gosh, we found out a lot of great things when it comes to CBD and psychedelics and hemp and everything else. But like, you know, the same people that are, some of the people that take the most medicine for their mental health are the same ones that like don't pay attention to what they're watching all day long every day. Like, guys, it's called paid programming, right? So that you're literally like, if you watch the news all day long and it's nothing but scary stuff, you're being programmed to be scared all day long.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? You got to have some balance in there. Talk to me a little bit about that. I know this is where your sweet spot, dude, is mental health and all the things that we've learned about psychedelic medicine.
Yeah. So my wife, you know, she's a suicide survivor.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic hit, we got pregnant, actually 6 months into the pandemic. So October 2020. And it basically started a cascade of her hormones being all out of whack, which I didn't understand. Like men, if you have a pregnant wife, get her hormones checked, get your own hormones checked before and after pregnancy and all that jazz.
Absolutely.
And because you just get out of whack. And then secondly, it started creating some PTSD effects. She grew up in crazy abusive, narcissistic, fundamentalistic upbringing, and she suffered a lot of abuse, and she was one of 11 kids, so she was like the buffer between her her parents who were always abusing each other and then abusing her. And so she was the buffer as a toddler. Like she can remember as an 18-month-old seeing her stepdad choke her mom.
Wow.
On the floor.
Okay.
Like as an 8, that was her first memory. Right. And so all this trauma started being activated, and especially once we had our daughter, and our daughter would cry and would send her into a nervous system response of shutdown and overwhelm and depression. And I didn't understand at the time. I'm a little stubborn, I guess, slow learner on some things, but I didn't realize she had severe complex PTSD. I wasn't that, I'm super versed in psychology, but I was not that versed in trauma at all when we had our baby. And I started realizing, this is not just a positive mindset. This is not just like, do some meditation, eat right, get some exercise. She was stuck. She was legitimately.
Yeah, it's a real thing to some people.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's a real thing to as many people as they think that it is, but I truly believe it's definitely a thing for some people. And I know my own mother, she had hysterectomy, and so I mean, massive changes to her whole entire body and her hormonal system and everything else, and I know that keeping the medication balanced and right has been something she changes as she gets older, and it's an ongoing thing, and it's real, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously my wife had a very severe case of deep depression. Like basically, as an example. My daughter would cry for 30 seconds and would spiral my wife into sometimes a 2, 4, or multiple day depression spiral. And it would just, her nervous system would shut down. And she's like, I don't want to be a mom. I can't handle this, because she was just in so much pain. Yeah. And so I'd be reading trauma books. I started reading Peter Levine's Healing Trauma book at night with, like, our daughter was a newborn. And I'd be reading that book in a Kindle while my wife was sleeping in bed. I was like, she's got some severe trauma. Yeah. And that's what's showing up. And then I started understanding PTSD. And she had 2 forms of incurable mental health battles: depression, deep depression, and complex PTSD, which is the most incurable form of PTSD, worse than going to war as a soldier. And so we didn't want to go the conventional route, because we knew if you look at all the research, it doesn't work.
How do they grade the level of PTSD? Like, how do they, on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how do they do that? I'm not fully sure how they grade it. But we found her a trauma therapist, and she was off the charts on everything. And fortunately I found a phenomenal trauma therapist, but like, the therapy would help her become more aware and help her process it in the moment, but it wouldn't stop the triggers. Okay. Her nervous system, like, if you're a soldier and you hear a loud, I had a buddy that was in Afghanistan, and if he heard loud sounds, he would like almost want to duck. Yeah, yeah. Because he had a rocket blow up on his leg. Yeah. And so like he was very sensitive to that. Well, so when we started working on it, we had to say, all right, her nervous system is literally hardwired since she was a toddler to respond this way. So it's like, it's not like, think of your nervous system. She's got like, a 1-lane road. No, her nervous system had like a 5-lane Atlanta highway. Right. Of like, respond this way if this happens. And so the little hammers weren't working. The little, improvements weren't nearly enough, because we were just for 2.5 years. And so, but then in 2021, I started researching psychedelics, and because of the capacity, what I found is from neuroscientist side, and now I have some psychedelic neuroscientist friends, basically your neuroplasticity doubles when you're on those substances. So think ketamine, MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, ibogaine, even ayahuasca. They're all forms of psychedelics. And like ketamine, your neuroplasticity doubles for about 2 days. Okay. Psilocybin, MDMA, it's about 2 weeks. And what happens is they call that a critical period reopening. It's like your brain is back to the way you were when you were 3 years old, and it can be reprogrammed. Got it. So it's like you got fresh powder on a ski slope. Now I can make new neuro highways. So your nervous system can bypass this downslope that it was going down for 30 years. Now it can go down this other path that a healthier, more adjusted person responding to a crying baby could handle, right? Like, you think of normal response for a crying baby is your
you want to rush and help, which my wife had that, but then she had the overwhelm.
Right.
And her nervous system just shutting down. So
Got it.
now she has that capacity. And as an example, we did a psychedelic therapy session with psilocybin. The night before, our daughter cried for like 30 seconds. Wife is down on the basement steps crying for 2 hours. Another 2 hours in the bathtub, just depressed funk. Next day, depressed funk. She has the therapy session the next day. It lasts 5 hours. Thursday, our wife has an 18-minute temper tantrum meltdown of an 18-month-old. You know, what they normally do. My wife laughs. She had never laughed. Never had the capacity to recognize, oh, she's being a toddler. She's being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Her nervous system had a radical departure. And it was like, and I literally felt like that moment, I was like, oh, it worked.
That's awesome.
And she would say that day or the day before when she did the session, she cured her depression. And we would, you know, that's been almost a year now. Actually, by the time this show comes out, it's a year. And then we probably nipped about 80% of the PTSD in the bud. We got a little bit more, but we'll actually, by the time this show's out, we'll have done 1 or 2 more sessions and we'll be great.
Well, dude, honestly, I just want to say thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's very personal stuff.
Yeah,
and that's really
thanks.
cool that you can talk about it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really do.